I'm back. Let's talk. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a while since my last recording, but when I tell you all hell was breaking loose in my life, not only because of that video, but because of the message that it held. When you start helping people and people start changing their minds, that means they start changing their lives. And you will become the focal point, the attack. So that's what happened. Not trying to make it spiritual, but it's just the way it happens. When you help people and they start changing their lives, the enemy comes after you, and he comes after you in ways that will blow your mind. But baby, when you are determined to live the best life possible, none of that stuff matters because you keep it right on moving. Shout out to all my new subscribers. Now, the last time I checked, y'all, because I did not plan to, go through what I went through, and it just kind of took me off a little bit. So, but the last time I checked, I think it was Danya, Joanna, Dornisha, Jackie Edwards, Danielle J, and it was somebody else. Andrea Wilson. I know all of them personally, and I thank you all for supporting my channel. And shout out to the new coming subscribers, because I decree and declare that this channel is growing every day by leaps and bounds. So shout out to my new subscribers, shout out to those who I just mentioned, and shout out to all of you in the future that plan on hitting that subscribe button and not being a lurker all your life. The fish stinks from the head down. And it's important that as you move on in life, that you identify anything, any type of pathology that will keep you bound and hindered and moving forward in your life. And I'm speaking of none other than a generational curse. A lot of us, oh God, my family alone, baby, let me tell you something. I could write a book on both sides of my family. You grow up and you're attached to something and you don't know why you react the way you do. You don't know why you respond the way you do. It's because you are attached to a curse. And most of you are married to a curse. So you came into a family by way of sex, not so much a piece of paper. By way of sex, having their children and stuff, you marry into that family and you become the curse too. The fish stinks from the head down. So that means you start at the top. What was mom and daddy doing? What were their proclivities in life? Was there abuse? Was there alcoholism? Was there drugs? What happened at the head? Because I promise you it'll trickle its way down. It may not hit one sibling, but it will hit the other. Let me tell you why. Because spirits are real. And spirits drive the force of a generational curse because it's a bloodline thing. Spirits have to remain in a human body in order for them not only to function, but to function comfortably. If they're not in a human body, they're tormented. And that's a spiritual law ordained by God himself. If they're not in a human body, they're tormented. At the point of death, whatever the struggle is that someone has, and that thing could be, you could have had a struggle with drugs for years since you were a teenager, and now you die at the age of 60 or 70. Let me tell you something. That same spirit, at the point of death, will seep out of your body like smoke and find its way into the next available bloodline representative. That means the next available relative. And the curse will continue. This is how spirits operate, beloved. The most prime example that I can give you and what I'm talking about is Whitney Houston. Because that story is just straight up tragedy. At the point of death, that thing that seeped up out of her in that tub, it went to the next available bloodline representative. And who was that? And 3 years later, what happened to her? Okay. That is why it is so imperative, y'all. Oh my God, I'm telling you what I'm living. It is so imperative that the inner child in you gets healed. The inner child in you is dealt with so that you can have a successful, prosperous, healthy life. If you don't deal with the trauma and the tragedy, why do I say inner child? That is a psychological term because most traumas and tragedies happen to people at a very young age. And whatever the age of the trauma is the age you remain mentally and spiritually. Yes, you'll grow physically, but mentally and spiritually, you'll be the age of that attack, of that trauma. The inner child has to be dealt with. Let me give you an example of what I just said. I will never forget this story. I promise you I won't. This woman of God, to this day, I respect and honor her because this woman is the bomb in the spirit. And years ago, she told a testimony of how she was already established as she's an apostle in ministry. So she was already established, but one day God was dealing with her about a particular spirit that she didn't even know she struggled with as the apostle. And as she was driving that day, God was dealing with her and speaking to her. And he showed her a vision of her own birth. So she saw, a vision of her birth. There was the doctor. There was her birth mother. She was pushing her out. There were the nurses. She said when she came out of her mother's womb and the doctor handed the baby, after they cleaned up the baby and everything, there was a spirit, oh God, that came right up out of the womb and followed the baby in that room as they cleaned it. And when they took the baby and handed it over to the adoptive mother, the spirit followed. And the Lord said to her in that vision and at that moment, that's the spirit of rejection. Spirits have to have legal access in order to operate in the earth realm. They have to come in legally. That's another spiritual law that was ordained by God. Why do you think Satan did what he did with Adam and Eve? Because he had to steal that authority from Adam. Oh, okay, because see, that's going to make me want to preach. Let me leave that alone. Spirits have to have legal access. Even God has to have legal access to operate in the earth realm. Why do I say that? Through prayer. You have to invite God into a situation. He's not just going to step in. A spirit has to have legal access. This is why it's so important. Oh, God. They get legal access through sex, rapes, molestations. This is why a lot of this stuff happens to people at young ages because most people, not all, but most, are attacked sexually at a young age because, you're more vulnerable to that attack. But this is how spirits get legal access. And one spirit attracts 1,000 more. All you need is one to get in that open way, honey. That little crack, they'll seep right in there and they ain't going to be there alone. Because one thing literally leads to another. You start out one way and come out a whole nother way, baby, when you're dealing with things in the spirit. Look at R. Kelly, y'all. That story alone is a whole nother video in itself. Look at the perversion that he was born into that caused him to be who he was. The fish stinks from the head down. Why did Aretha Franklin have kids at the ages of 12 and 14? The fish stinks from the head down. Identify what it is inside of you that causes you turmoil and does not bring you peace, and deal with it. It's all about the nest that you came out of. And by nest, I mean home. The way you were raised. The belief system that was formed in your childhood. The things you were taught. The things you saw, the things you experienced made you the person you are. It starts from the head down. That's where the fish stinks. From the head down. Because most of the stuff we were taught was sure enough ignorance. Especially us that was born in Christian homes. We were taught religious dogma and rhetoric. That's another video. Do you know that I found God when I walked away from God? I have been in church all of my life. How old am I? 41? Born and raised into a church where demons were casted out. We could sing with the best of them, play the tambourine, shout till the cows come home. All of that. I was born and raised in that. I've walked behind Noel Jones and Juanita Bynum. I've served the best as an armor bearer. I've been around them all. And I'm telling you that I have not found God, the real one, until I left. I met the God of the church when I grew up in it. Thinking that this mystical being that sat on its high throne hated my guts because of who I was. But when I walked away, oh God, I met the real God of the universe that does not think, move, and act like church people. And my love and respect for him is at a level that I never thought I could reach or attain. And that comes with peace. It was important that, we took this time today and talked about generational curses. The fish things from the head down. Like, seriously. It really does. And that's in any field. In the spiritual field. I did a video on this very title some years ago. And I talked about how when you join the church, you got to be careful. It's just like when you about to sleep with somebody. You got to be careful. And you got to know who you're dealing with. Just like when you join the church. Don't join the church because the choir is the bomb. Baby, you better watch and pray. And be sober and vigilant before you walk up to somebody's altar and say, I want to be a part. Don't let them emotions that you feel from the song and the organ get you all hemmed up. Okay. Because whatever the weakness of that leader is will be the praise or the manifestation of that house. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So again, the fish stinks from the head down. That's in families. That's in church families. That's even in the workplace, baby. The fish stinks from the head down. Spirits are the cause of pathologies. They have to be comfortable in a bloodline, and that's why that thing will perpetuate itself for generations to come. You leave up out of here, it's going to leave up out of you and go into the next available bloodline representative. Point blank, period. That's why you got to identify what these things are, because you have the power to get rid of them. What is the thing that triggers you? That's what you got to get rid of. Because when there's a trauma that happened to you at a young age, you will grow up with that thing and you'll be like, oh, I'm over it. I don't think about it. Baby, that thing's still sitting right there sipping soda right inside of you. Because the moment someone does anything that will remind you of that trauma, you will lose it. And to the outside world, it looks like something minute and very small. Like, why are you blowing up over that? But they don't know that that inner child in you is having a fit. Because you don't think about it or allow yourself to think about it, that it just dissipates and goes away. What? That thing will grow old with you and get gray hair with you and be chilling. Generational curses have everything to do with the choices you make. Generational curses have everything to do with the children that's behind you. Generational curses have everything to do with inner child issues. Generational curses have everything to do with people who refuse to get the help they need to get rid of the trauma in their lives. Because what you refuse to do will affect the other bloodline members. And thus, the spirits that perpetuate the curse remain comfortable, while you remain in bondage while thinking you're thriving and succeeding. Okay. So make a choice today to identify what it is and get rid of it. I realized that my problem with men started with my father, because that was the first man to ever break my heart into 1,000,000 pieces. That up until recently, I've spent all those decades gathering those pieces together. Honey, when somebody break your heart, don't go sweeping up the pieces that's been broken. Ask God for a new one. My parents' marriage, because they were married twice. Yeah, some of y'all didn't know that. My parents' marriage, they were married twice before I got here. Their marriage and their divorce affected me and my sisters in 3 different ways. I can't tell their testimony like they can. I can only speak for me. But they affected, their choices affected their children in 3 different ways. Whatever the choices is that the parents make, they have to be cognizant that it will affect their children one way or another. This is how pathologies continue, because they're not cognizant of the children behind them who's watching everything and who's impressionable. On my mother's side of the family, there's 12 children. My grandparents had 12 children, and my mother was number 11. Both of my grandparents were preachers, ministers of the gospel. But the things that my grandfather put my grandmother through while they were having these 12 children affected all 12 in very different ways. Thus, the curse continued generation after generation based off of their choices as parents. Generational curses are real, and the fish stinks from the head down. Now, I know my family members that know what I'm talking about would be standing up right now and clapping. The fish stinks from the head down, Suge. Y'all, I'm so determined to get completely free. Because I'm so determined at 41 to live my best life. And to have all of the years that I missed out on having a good life to be restored to me. So I'm revising, I don't know about you, I'm revising the past 40 years of all of that rejection, all of that betrayal, all of that heartbreak, all of that pain. I'm revising all of that, and I'm now living my best life. How am I revising it? I don't have to walk up to an altar and ask for oil on my forehead. All I got to do is speak those things, which be not as though they were. The power is not only in your tongue, the power is in your mind. Your subconscious mind is more powerful than you could believe. I'm telling you the truth. My sister manifested the car of her dreams, a car that she wanted since the 90s, but never thought she was able to obtain it until she saw herself for who she was. She changed her thoughts and her assumptions about her and her own life. And that gave her the power to, in her mind, see herself in her dream car to the point where it had no choice but to manifest. And guess what she's driving now? Her dream car. So you ain't gonna tell me that you can't speak to your situation and that thing won't cease. Conjure up a scene in your mind that implies that you are living your best life. You don't have to go into detail. All you got to do is see yourself from the end result. Let me give you an example. If you single and you want a man, right? And you don't know how you're going to meet the kind of man you want and you know what you deem as perfect. You don't know how you're going to meet them because it could be a number of reasons why. But you surpass all of that and you see yourself in the end with him holding your hand. You see yourself in the end with y'all standing at the altar. You see yourself in your dream home with your dream man. You go to the end result and you loop those imaginations in your mind. Loop that scene in your mind over and over again. And don't give up. No matter what this reality shows you, don't give up. I guarantee you. It's going to have to manifest. Because the power of God is in your subconscious mind. And when you change that mind, baby, you activate the very power of God. And everything in your life changes. But it starts from the inside out. Those of you looking at me right now, that even know me personally, what you see around me, you will see again no more. Because I have changed from the inside out. You see me walking away from people that you never thought I'd walk away from. You see me making all types of decisions that got you like, because now I realize who I am, and I realized it through the power of self-concept in my subconscious mind. You don't got to believe it. Just sit back and watch. I pray at least one person was touched by this message today. Let me tell you something. Y'all have no idea how I have given myself to this thing because I know it works. If I could see myself from a place of love, if I can value myself the way I do now, I never thought this was possible, that I could love myself, because I was always taught I was wrong because I was gay. I was wrong. I'm going to hell. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And to come out of that environment, y'all, and to see myself as the treasure I've always been, and to love that person is one of the greatest gifts life has ever given me. And I'm saying it to help you. Get free from everybody and everything, honey. And I'm telling you, the world that we got over here in glory is all the things. I want you to really take it from me. I really want you to take the stuff that I'm saying, because listen, I never thought, y'all, I never thought I could love myself. I just never, I never even deemed it possible, because I was so ravished and beat down, verbally abused all my life, rejected all my life. I never thought that I could love and value and appreciate myself the way I do now, y'all. Please take it from me, because I was a worst case scenario. It wasn't until I walked away from the church that I found the real God. Oh, God. Calm down, Lewis. The real God of the universe, not the God of the church. I found him, but I had to walk away from what was familiar to find everything you will ever need in this life is already inside of you. Every answer to your prayer is on the inside of you. God has already given us everything that pertains to life and godliness. Now I understand that scripture. Now I get it. It's already in us. And all you got to do is bring it out of you. Oh, God. He did the work. He's not doing anything else. Jesus did his job. He's not doing anything else. It's done. It's all on the inside of you. And he's given it to us freely. And you don't have to tote a Bible to do it, baby. It's your human right. You were born with an imagination that has the power to bring you out of any situation that you could ever deem possible. I love y'all. I'm out of here.